In the 1960s, 18-wheelers ruled the highways, hauling dreams and cargo. But some were so strange, they looked like they escaped a sci-fi flick. Today, we're counting down the top 5 ugliest semi-trucks of the 60s. Designs so bizarre, they are practically forgotten. What made these rigs look like rolling cartoons? Join me to find out. Picture yourself cruising past one of these oddballs. What's your reaction? We're diving into their quirky tales, and I need you to pick the weirdest one by the end. Let's roll. International Harvester DCO 405, the bug-eyed Bruiser. Okay, folks, what's the wildest thing you've ever seen lumbering down a highway? Hold that thought, because the International Harvester DCO 405 might steal the show. A 1960s 18-wheeler that looks like a toad with a head cold caught in headlights. With a smirk-inducing mug that could make a bulldozer giggle, this rig hauled heavy loads but won 0 style points. So, how did this bug-eyed Bruiser become such a glorious goof? Let's spin the tale. Back in the early 60s, International Harvester was itching to jazz up their cab-over-engine semis. You know, those stubby trucks where the driver perches right over the engine like a kid on a bouncy castle. The DCO 405 was their big swing, built to schlep 40,000 pounds of cargo, from timber to machinery. With a diesel engine, it was a workhorse, turning on a dime in crowded yards, perfect for squeezing through tight spots. The headlights bugged out as if they were trying to escape, and the grille was so small it looked like it was gasping for a breath of air. The cab tilted forward as if it was bowing out of embarrassment. Drivers loved its guts, but probably tossed a tarp over it at truck stops. So why the cartoonish vibe? The 1960s were a decade of design experimentation. Truck makers were tossing wild ideas at the wall to see what stuck, and International Harvester decided, let's go bold. Or maybe just bizarre. Word is, they were also pinching pennies, slapping together parts to keep costs low, which left the DCO 405 looking like a thrift store makeover. By 1965, fleets were swapping it for sleeker rigs, and it faded faster than a bad haircut. Today, collectors dig into its retro charm, polishing these oddballs for vintage shows like proud parents of a quirky kid. Got a nickname for this rolling goofball? Hang tight, because we're about to meet its even funkier cousins. White 5000, the Fiberglass Fumble. What is the weirdest truck you would spot at a car show and whisper, what were they thinking? Enter the White 5000. A 1960s 18-wheeler that looks like a Barbie Dreamhouse reject trying to haul freight. With a grill grinning wider than a game show host, this rig was White Motor Company's big bet to dazzle the 60s trucking world. Spoiler alert, it belly flopped. How did this shiny misfit come to be? In the early 1960s, White rolled out the 5000 as its shiny new cab-over semi, aiming to lighten loads with a fiberglass cab that dodged rust like a pro. This beast could lug 45,000 pounds of cargo. Think steel beams or grain sacks, with a diesel engine. Drivers got a roomy cab for long hauls, but the design? It's like someone melted a spaceship and called it a truck. The rounded cab looked more like a cartoon than cargo. The windshield sloped like a funhouse mirror, making drivers feel like they were steering a giant bubble. It was meant to outshine rivals like Freightliner, but it ended up the kid picked last for the team. So why the plastic fantastic Flub? The 60s were obsessed with looking space age. Think Jetsons vibes and chrome everything. White's designers chugged the futuristic Kool-Aid, dreaming up a cab that would make jaws drop. But Fiberglass was a diva. Crack it in a fender bender and you'd be coughing up thousands to fix it. Additionally, the entire look felt like a concept sketch hastily rushed to the factory floor. By the late 60s, fleets swapped it for rigs that didn't scream, I'm a prototype! Today, a handful of collectors parade these at vintage rallies, polishing their unusual glow as if it were a rare comic book. Would you cruise this fiberglass fever dream, or tuck it in a garage forever? Do you have a better name for this rolling glow stick? Hold on, because our next truck's gonna crank the weirdness up a notch. Marmon-Herrington Co., the Bulldog Bust. Say hello to the Marmon-Herrington Co., a 1960s 18-wheeler that looks like a bulldog with a bad haircut and a grumpy attitude to match. Imagine this semi chugging toward you, its stubby cab and jumbled features looking as though they were thrown together during a lunch break. Marmon-Herrington was all about tough rigs, but this cab-over-engine design, it's the kind of face that makes other trucks whisper, bless its heart. How did this Bulldog become such a visual blunder? Rolling out in the early 1960s, the Marmon-Herrington Co. was built for serious hauling, capable of carrying 50,000 pounds of cargo, such as construction gear or timber, with a diesel engine. The cab-over setup, where the driver sits smack over the engine, gave it ninja-like agility for tight yards, perfect for dodging obstacles. But the style? It's like someone handed a kid a box of mismatched Legos and said, build a truck. The cab was so squat that it looked like it was crouching in shame, with a grille that was too tall, trying to appear tough. The headlights, uneven little peepers, gave it a lopsided scowl, earning it the not-so-sweet nickname Bulldog. Drivers loved its muscle, but probably dodged mirrors to avoid that mug. So why the design disaster? The 60s were a wild time for trucks. New laws pushed shorter cabs to save space, and companies were scrambling to keep up. Marmon-Herrington, usually a champ at rugged builds, seemed to trip over their own feet here, prioritizing function so hard they forgot about flair. Rumor has it that tight budgets and rushed production left the Co. looking like a rough draft that accidentally went live. By 1963, fleets were ditching it for rigs that didn't look like they were sulking. Today, you might catch one at a vintage show where collectors fawn over its oddball charm like it's a rare vinyl record. Got a fun name for this rollin' frown? Keep cruising with us. The next truck's gonna up the ante. Dodge LCF Series, the fat-faced Flub. Now, let's talk about the dullest truck you would spot on the road and think, did they forget to finish it? Meet the Dodge LCF Series, a 1960s 18-wheeler with a front so flat it looks like a pancake, with headlights tossed on for kicks. Imagine this semi easing up beside you, its boxy cab and skimpy grille squinting like it's half asleep. Dodge aimed for no-nonsense hauling, but this low-cab forward design landed in the snooze zone with a thud. How did this rig end up with such a visually unappealing design? Debuting in the early 60s, the LCF Series was Dodge's bid to make city deliveries a breeze, hauling 40,000 pounds of cargo. Think steel pipes or crates of produce, with a diesel engine that thrummed like a lazy bumblebee. The low cab hugged the ground, giving drivers a car-like feel and making it easy to hop in and out for tight routes. It was a champ at weaving through crowded yards, but the look? It's like someone ironed the front end flat and called it a day. The grille was so narrow that it seemed to wheeze with effort, and the headlights looked as if they were stuck on with chewing gum, barely breaking the monotony. Drivers dug it practically, but probably wished for a snazzier face to flash at truck stops. The 60s were a party of flashy truck designs. Chrome galore, curves for days, but Dodge played the penny pincher, slashing cost to churn out a bare-bones rig. They leaned hard into minimalism, thinking less is more, but forgot the more part entirely. Word on the street, rushed deadlines meant designers slapped together a cab that screamed, we'll fix it later. Spoiler, they didn't. By the late 1960s, shinier competitors had stolen the spotlight, and the LCF faded like a forgotten grocery list. Mack F-Series, the Snout-Nosed Stumble. Buckle up for the Mack F-Series, a 1960s 18-wheeler with a nose so stretched it looked like a bloodhound with a bad stylist, sniffing the road for compliments it never got. Mack was the king of rigid trucks, but this design tripped over its snout and landed face first in the Hall of Fame for oddballs. Launched in the early 60s, the F-Series was Mack's significant flex for heavy hauls, carting 45,000 pounds of cargo. Think gravel piles or machinery with a diesel engine. Unlike cab-overs, its conventional long-nose cab provided drivers with a plush seat and a clear view. perfect for cruising on highways or dodging worksite chaos. But the style? It's like someone stretched the hood until it begged for mercy, then slapped on a grill that looked like it was drooping in defeat. The headlights, tiny as buttons, gave it a cross-eyed squint that could make a tow truck chuckle. Drivers loved the comfy ride, but probably dodged selfies with this snouty show-off. Why was the design fumbled? The 1960s were a carnival of bold truck vibes. Think shiny chrome and sleek lines that stole hearts. Mack, never one to play small, swung for a standout look, betting a mega nose would scream power. But they overdid it, creating a cab that felt more like a caricature than a classic. By the late 60s, Mack pivoted to sharper designs, and this rig vanished faster than a bad dance move. Autocar A64, the boxy Blunder. Do you think we've scraped the bottom of the ugly barrel? Not so fast. Meet the Autocar A64, a 1960s 18-wheeler that's like a storage crate with a bad attitude. Just missing our top 5, but earning a gold star for sheer dullness. Picture this semi trundling by. Its square cab looking like it was designed with a ruler and zero imagination. Autocar was a champ at building sturdy rigs, but this one rolled off the line like it was daring folks to yawn. How did this boxy Blunder sneak into the ugly Hall of Fame? The A64 hit the highways in the early 60s, built for the toughest gigs, hauling 50,000 pounds of cargo. Think cement bags or steel beams with a diesel engine. Its roomy cab provided drivers with plenty of elbow room, ideal for long hauls. But the design? Good grief. It's like someone saw a cardboard box and thought, that's the vibe. The front was flat as a cutting board, with a grille so plain it looked as if it were sulking, and headlights that barely peeked out, as if embarrassed to be seen. Drivers loved its grit, but probably wished it had a smidge of swagger to match. So why the snooze fest aesthetic? The 60s were a party of jazzy truck designs, curvy cabs, chrome that sparkled, but Autocar played the grumpy accountant, doubling down on practical and forgetting pretty. They were also cutting costs to keep fleets happy, so the A64 received a no-frills look, akin to a prototype that had skipped the refinement phase. Whispers in the industry suggest that the design team was stretched thin, churning out cabs under tight budgets, leaving this rig looking as if it was built during a power nap. But by the late 60s, Autocar's flashier models shoved the A64 into the shadows, and it became a footnote faster than a bad sitcom. From the International DCO 405's bug-eyed stare to the Mack F-Series Snout-Nosed swagger, these trucks prove not every design was a winner. Imagine spotting one of these clunkers on the road. Would you wave or wince? I'm betting you've got a pick for the ugliest. Is it the white 5000's plastic smirk, the Marmon-Herrington's bulldog frown, or maybe the Autocar's boxy yawn? Drop your vote in the comments. I'm reading them all. Don't roll away yet. If this countdown made you laugh or raise an eyebrow, hit that like button to share the fun. Share this with your buddies who love trucks or enjoy a good chuckle. Do you have a story about a weird rig you've seen? Spill it below. Let's keep the chatter going. Also, smash subscribe and ring the bell for more quirky stories. See you in the next one.